Today we are going to discuss about Neifert's diffraction model, path loss prediction in hilly terrain, and then introduction to MIMO systems. This is from module 5. So in the last session, we have discussed about radio propagation mechanisms and different radio propagation models. Okay. So different radio propagation mechanisms are reflection, diffraction, and scattering. Okay. Then we will discuss what is free space propagation model and then ground reflected or two-ray model. Today, first we are going to discuss about Neifert's diffraction model. Okay. So this ground reflected model or two-ray model, which is based on the propagation mechanism reflection. Now this Neifert diffraction model, which is based on the mechanism diffraction. Okay. So in diffraction, which will allow the radio signals to propagate around the curved surface of the earth without considering the, that is diffraction phenomenon. Okay. So this diffraction will be explained by the Huygens-Fresnel principle. Okay. It states that all points on a wavefront can be considered as point sources for the production of secondary wavelets, and these wavelets combine to produce new waveform in the direction of propagation. Okay, that is Huygens-Fresnel principle. So all points in the wavefront or wave will be a source for the production of secondary wavefront. Okay, then this secondary wavefronts will combine and which will produce a new waveform, which is also in the direction of propagation of the original wave or the primary wavefront. Okay, so this is Huygens-Fresnel principle. So based on this Huygens-Fresnel principle, this diffraction mechanism will work, and this Neifert's diffraction model is based on this principle. Okay. So hence, if a region is obstructed or shadowed, then the diffraction around the edges of the object produces a new wave to be propagated. Okay. So this by this Huygens-Fresnel principle, so when a radio wave, mobile radio wave is propagating in one direction, and if there is a obstruction which will cause diffraction, okay, then the primary wavefront will produce the secondary wavefront or the secondary waveform. Then that wave will travel in the same direction of propagation of the original mobile radio wave. Okay, so thus from the transmitter to the receiver, the signal will transmit. Okay, so this is shown in figure. So this is a 1 minute. ഇനി ആരെങ്കിലും വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടോ? വെയിറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വേഗം കയറാൻ പറ. Okay. here the transmitter and receiver are separated at a distance of D1 plus D2. Then for the analysis purpose, we are considering that there will be a obstructing screen. There will be an obstructing screen of effective height h. So this is the effective height h. So that is the height from the transmitter to receiver path. So this is the effective height h. Okay, so this obstructing screen which has a effective height h, which is placed at a distance D1 from the transmitter and D2 from the receiver. Here we are considering that the transmitter and receiver are placed the same height. Okay. So this obstructing screen has this shape of a knife. That's why it is known as knife edge obstructing screen, and this model is known as knife edge diffraction model. Okay. So the wave transmitted from the transmitter is diffracted by this knife edge screen. Then the wave is propagating, or the diffracted wave is propagated to the receiver. So this is the diffracted wave. So this diffracted wave is propagated through the receiver. Okay. So we can explain it with Fresnel zone or Fresnel according to the Fresnel principle. Okay, so this is the Fresnel zone geometry. Okay. So here we are assuming that the effective height of the obstructing material or obstructing screen is h, which is very, very less than the distance from transmitter D1 and the distance from receiver D2. And the height h, this effective height h, is very, very greater than the wavelength of the transmitted wave. Okay. So this is the Fresnel zone geometry. I will redraw this portion like this. So this is the portion I am concentrating. So I am rewriting this portion. So this is the thing. So by using this geometry, we can calculate the path difference when a transmitting signal or transmitting wave is diffracted from the original path or the line of sight path and then reach at the receiver. So this is the line of sight path. So this is the actual distance it should have to travel if it is traveling through the line of sight path. So D1 plus D2 is the actual distance. Then this wave is traveling by diffraction. This wave is traveling to this path and then it is again redirected to the receiver. Okay, so this is the original path the waveform is or the signal is traveling, and this is the line of sight path. So this is the geometry I am considering, and from this geometry we can find out the path difference. Okay, so path difference is the difference between the distance the wave originally travels minus the line of sight distance. So this is the original distance it is traveling and this is the line of sight distance. So path difference we can write it as delta equal to root of d1 square plus h square plus d2 square plus h square minus d1 plus d2. So this is root of h square plus d1 square. This is root of h square plus d2 square. So sum of this minus d1 plus d2. So this is the path difference. Okay. So I am rearranging the this relation. So I am taking out d1 and you can write it as d1 do root of 1 plus h by d1 whole square plus I am taking out d2 here and d2 into root of 1 plus h by d2 whole square minus d1 minus d2. So I am approximating this by multiplying this denominator by 2. Okay, so we are assuming that the h is very, very less than d1 and d2. So that is why I can approximate as, so this h by d1 will be a very small value. So when I am multiplying with the 2, it won't affect much more. So I am multiplying by 2 here. So d1 into 1 plus h by 2 d1 whole square plus d2 into 1 plus h by 2 d2 the whole square minus d1 minus d2. So I can by expanding this and rewriting, I will get d1 plus h square by 2 d1 plus d2 plus h square by 2 d2 minus d1 minus d2. Then that is equal to h square by 2 d1 plus h square by 2 d2. That is equal to, I am taking out h square by 2 outside, then d1 plus d2 by d1 d2. So this is difference delta in a knife edge diffracted model. Okay. Then the corresponding phase difference, phi. So phase difference equal to 2 pi into path difference divided by lambda. So 2 pi by lambda into the path difference h square by 2 d1 plus d2 by d1 d2. Then the total angle of diffraction. The total angle of diffraction which is equal to alpha. Okay. So here the wave is diffracted. So this is when traveling to transmitter to receiver, the wave is diffracted by this knife edge obstacle and it is diffracted like that. Okay. So the total angle of diffraction will be equal to alpha. This is the total angle of diffraction alpha. This total angle of diffraction alpha will be equal to beta plus gamma. So from this figure, you can see this. So alpha equal to this beta plus gamma. Okay. So total angle of diffraction will be alpha equal to beta plus gamma, that is which will be approximately equal to h into d1 d2 divided by d1 d2. Okay. Then another parameter which is Fresnel-Kirchhoff diffraction parameter V. This is another parameter. So that is defined as V is equal to h into root of 2 into d1 d2 divided by lambda into d1 d2. That is equal to alpha into root of 2 into substituting this the h into d1 plus d2 by d1 d2 as alpha. Then we will get alpha into root of 2 d1 d2 divided by lambda into d1 plus d2. So this is the expression for diffraction parameter V. Okay. So now consider a receiver at point R which is located in the shadowed region or shadowed or obstructed region. Okay, so this receiver R is shadowed by this knife edge obstruction, and so this R is the receiver which is in the obstructed region, and when traveling the signal from here, the original signal is traveling from here. So this is the diffracted path. So this is the diffracted path. So this is the original signal propagation direction or the line of sight direction. This is line of sight direction. But by the knife edge obstruction, this wave is diffracted. This is the diffracted wave. Okay. So this is the primary wave or the primary wavefront. Okay. So by Fresnel principle, each point in the primary wavefront will produce a secondary wavefront, and all the secondary wavefronts will combinedly form a source. Okay. So this primary wavefront will produce secondary waves like this. So these are the secondary waves. Okay. So these things represent the secondary waves. So these secondary waves will combinedly form a secondary source. Okay. So by this Huygens-Fresnel principle, this secondary wave, or the secondary source will produce a secondary wavefront or a secondary wave. That secondary wave will also travel in the same propagation direction of the primary wavefront. So this is the primary wavefront. So this is the primary signal or the primary wavefront, and this primary wavefront producing secondary wavefronts, and all the secondary wavefronts combinedly produce a secondary source, and this secondary source will produce the secondary wavefront. This secondary wavefront also will travel in the same direction of primary wavefront. Okay, so this is the Huygens-Fresnel principle. Okay, so the field strength at point R is a vector sum of the fields due to all the secondary Huygens sources in the plane above the knife edge. Okay, so the field strength at point R or at the receiver point will be the vector sum of all the fields due to all these secondary wavefronts, and which is due to the knife edge diffracted screen. Okay, so the electric field strength at R or the knife edge diffracted wave. So this is the knife edge diffracted wave. So the electric field of the knife edge diffracted wave, which is represented as ED, then we can write the relation as ED divided by E naught, where E naught is the electric field which is propagating through the line of sight direction. So this is the electric field of the signal which is due to the secondary Huygens sources. So this ED by E naught will be equal to F of V. Okay, so it is a function of the Fresnel-Kirchhoff diffraction parameter. So F of V, ED by E naught equal to F of V. It is a function of V is the Fresnel-Kirchhoff parameter. So it is a function of V that is represented by F of V, that is equal to 1 plus J divided by 2 integral V to infinity exponential minus J pi t square divided by 2 into dt. Okay. So this is the ratio of electric field due to the Fresnel diffracted or Fresnel Huygens-Fresnel secondary source to the electric field in the line of sight region, or line of that means if there is no obstruction, the signal will travel through the line of sight propagation direction. So the E naught is the electric field in the case of there is no obstruction. Okay, so this is the ratio ED by E naught. Then the diffraction gain, which is represented by GD, the diffraction gain which is in the presence of knife edge obstruction, that is GD, which is given in dB, that is equal to 20 log F of V. So 20 log ED by E naught. Okay, or F of V, that is a function of Fresnel-Kirchhoff diffraction parameter. So the gain in the presence of knife edge obstruction is equal to 20 log modulus of F of V. Okay, so this is all about knife edge diffraction model. Okay, so this knife edge diffraction model is working on the principle of Huygens-Fresnel principle. So in Huygens-Fresnel principle, it is saying that all the primary wavefronts, all the points in the primary wavefront will form a secondary wavefront, and this secondary wavefront combinedly give will form a secondary source, and this secondary source will cause a secondary wavefront or secondary waveform which is traveling in the same direction of the primary wavefront. Okay, so this Nyefeld's diffraction model is working on the principle of this Huygens Fresnel principle. Okay. Any doubt? Okay. Now we will continue. Next is the path loss prediction in a hilly terrain. Path loss prediction in a hilly terrain. Okay. Here we are not going for any analysis and all. Just we are looking at what is a path loss in a hilly terrain area. Okay. So, if the Earth's surface between a transmitter and receiver is not flat, okay, then the effective height of the transmitter should be calculated to determine the power at the receiving end. So, if the transmitter and receiver are not in a flat surface of Earth, in that case, we have to find out the effective height of the transmitter. So this effective height is different from the original height of the transmitter or the transmitting antenna. So in this case, we have to calculate the effective height of the transmitter in order to find the receiving power or power at the receiving end. So the procedure to calculate the effective height is shown in this figure, how we are calculating the effective height. So this is the place the transmitting antenna is fixing. Okay, so this is the transmitting antenna. This is representing the transmitting antenna. Okay, so this is the transmitting antenna. So this is representing the surface of Earth. So this is the transmitting antenna, and this is a hilly area. The receiver is locating here. Here is the receiver. So this is the receiving antenna. Okay. So this is transmitting antenna and this is receiving antenna. So in this case, how we will calculate the effective height of the transmitting antenna in order to find out the power at the receiving end. Okay. So in order to find the reflection points, here we are considering that the signal from the transmitting antenna. So this is the signals from the transmitting antenna. So this is the the signal which is traveling through the straight line. So which is this signal is reflected from this point on the surface of Earth. So this is a ground reflected model. Okay. So this waveform 2 represent the straight signal which is traveling in straight line, and which is it is a hilly area. That is why this signal is hit at the surface of Earth here, and it is reflected from here to the receiving antenna. Also, one will be also the signal from the transmitting antenna which is reflected from here. Okay. So this is also reflecting from here to the receiving antenna. Okay. So in order to find the reflection points, the transmitter connected to the image of the receiver, and the receiver is connected to the image of the transmitter. Here we are connecting to the image of the transmitter and receiver. Okay. So there are 2 reflection points and 2 reflected rays, which I already told, the ray 1 and ray 2. So ray 1 and ray 2 are the 2 different reflected rays. or reflected waves. Okay. This ray 2 will retain the maximum portion of the reflected energy. This ray 2 will maintain the maximum amount of reflected energy since it is traveling small distance after reflection. Small distance to the transmitting antenna because of this 2 is traveling small distance or low distance after reflection to the receiving antenna. But from when considering the ray 1, it is traveling more distance after reflection to the receiving antenna. Okay, so the maximum portion of the reflected energy is retained by this ray 2 and ray 1 will retain minimum energy. So this ray 2 or the point, reflection point where ray 2 is reflected, we are considering for the analysis purpose. So this point we are taking for the analysis purpose. The first reflection point, which is called, this point is called diffused reflection point, and this point is called specular reflection point. Okay, so the specular reflection point is the point where the ray is reflected to the receiver, which is traveling a low distance, and the diffused reflection point is the point where the wave is reflected, where it is traveling more distance to the receiver. So these are the two reflection points, specular reflection point and diffused reflection point. So we are considering this specular reflection point for analysis since it retain the maximum energy. Okay. Then to calculate the effective height, the slope on which the specular point lies is extended towards the transmitter or the base station. Base station is known as the transmitter or the transmitting antenna. Okay, so this is the specular reflection point. We are extending this line to the base station or the transmitted antenna. So this is the point. This extension line will meet the BS or base station or its image, this transmitting antenna image, and the total height will be known as the effective height of the transmitter. Okay, so what we are doing is, first we are finding out which is the specular reflection point. So specular reflection point is the reflection point which is near to the receiving antenna. We can say that which is near to the receiving antenna, or the ray is traveling small distance or low distance to the receiving antenna. And from this specular reflection point, we are extending that line to the base station or the image of the transmitting antenna, and the total height is known as the effective height of the transmitting antenna. So this edge, this is representing the effective height of the transmitting antenna. Now this we found out how what is the effective height of the transmitting antenna. So here we are considering the reflection mechanism, or the wave is propagating through the ground reflected model. So we already analyzed how to calculate the power in a ground reflected or two-ray model. So the equation which we are using is the same for the received power here also, which is used in the two-ray reflection model. So the received power or the power at the receiver PR equal to PT GT GR HT square HR square divided by D raised to 4. Okay. So where D is the distance between transmitting and receiving antennas, and HR is the height of the receiver antenna, and HT is the height of the transmitting antenna. But the difference is here we are taking the effective distance which that we calculated now, that this is the effective distance of the transmitting antenna. So in the case of HT, we are taking the effective height of the transmitting antenna. That is the only difference to calculate the power in the received end or the receiving antenna. Then PT is the power of the transmitting antenna. GT and GR are the gains of transmitting and receiving antennas. All the analysis are, all other analysis are same as that of two-ray reflection model. Okay. This is also another case. Here, we are considered that the transmitting antenna is like that and receiving antenna is like that. Here, the effective height of the transmitting antenna will be higher than the actual height of the transmitting antenna. In this case, effective height is higher than the original height of the transmitting antenna. In this case, the effective height, this is another case. Here the transmitting antenna is here and the receiving antenna will be here. So in this car, the signal is receiving. So here the receiving antenna will be here and transmitting antenna will be here. And in the same way, we are calculating the effective height and we will get this as the effective height. HTE we will get as the effective height. So in this case, the effective height will be less than the original height of the transmitting antenna. So just say another case. Okay. So these are all about the different propagation models by the different propagation mechanisms. So we discussed about the different propagation mechanisms, reflection, diffraction, and scattering. And then by reflection, there will be two models. First one is the two-ray reflected model or the ground reflected model. And now we see what is how to calculate the power in a hilly terrain area. Okay. Then by diffraction, there will be the knife edge diffracted model. So we studied how to calculate the power or path loss in different propagation mobile radio propagation mechanisms. Okay. Now, in this fifth module, we'll have some other topics which you have already studied in digital communication techniques. Okay. So also we have already studied in the first module of ACS, that is diversity techniques. Okay. So that is the next portion, diversity techniques, in order to reduce this multipath propagation fading. Okay. The fading due to multipath propagation that we already studied in the first module, and also you studied this diversity techniques in DCT. Okay, so I am not repeating that. Then next, the another topic is there, that is MIMO systems. So do you know what is MIMO systems? What is the full form of MIMO system? There will be three types of systems: SIMO systems, MISO systems.
Multi-input, multi-output, miss.
Multiple input,
Multiple output.
multiple output system. Okay. So now we are seeing that what is a multiple input, multiple output system. Okay. So in MIMO systems, there are using multiple antennas at the transmitter and receiver. Okay. So multiple antennas are used in the transmitter session and the receiver session. Okay. So it is used to using for the increase the performance and to enhance the different capabilities of a communication system. Here we are considering the mobile communication system. So it is providing high performance and it will enhance the capabilities of a mobile communication system. So this MIMO system is represented as M cross N, where M represents the number of transmitting antennas and that other second M is representing the number of receiving antennas. Okay. So this is the case we already discussed about different propagation mechanisms and diffraction, reflection and scattering. So these propagation mechanisms will cause or known as the multipath propagation. These mechanisms will cause the multipath propagation. Okay. So from this base station to this receiver or this mobile device, the signal is transmitted through different paths. Okay. Here one reflection will cause, and here scattering, and here diffraction will occur. And due to this different mechanisms, there will be path loss and also there will be fading. Okay. So in order to minimize this fading due to this multipath propagation, we are using different mechanisms. Okay. So before this MIMO system, multiple input, multiple output system, there will be two other systems which are MISO system and SIMO system. So MISO system is multiple input, single output system. Okay. So there will be a number of transmitting antennas, but there will be only one receiving antenna. So this MISO system is known as the transmitter diversity. Okay, you already studied the diversity techniques, different diversity techniques, space diversity, polarization diversity, frequency diversity, time diversity, like that. In space diversity, which is also known as the antenna diversity, there we are using different, in space diversity, different mechanisms we are using, which are like selection diversity, feedback diversity, also equal gain diversity, like that. Okay. In these cases, all different antennas are, or number of antennas are used in the receiving session, or the different receivers or number of receivers are used in the receiving session, like that. Okay. So this diversity, mainly this diversity techniques is talk about using number of a different number of antennas. Okay. So in MISO system, they are using different many number of antennas in the transmitter session. So it is known as transmitter diversity. In SIMO system, that is single input, multiple output, their number of antennas are used in the receiver session. So it is known as receiver diversity. Okay. Now, MIMO system. So in MIMO, we'll take the advantage of multipath propagation. Okay. So it uses multiple antennas to send multiple parallel signals from the transmitter. So there will be how to send the information signal to the transmitter, receiver. In the case of MIMO, it uses multiple antennas to send the multiple signals parallelly from the transmitting end. Okay. So this multipath occurs when the different signals arrive at the receiver at various times. Okay. So there will be path loss or delay in order to arrive the same when we are sending the same signal in parallelly, but at the receiver session, due to this multipath propagation, these signals will reach at the receiver at different times. So there will, because of the path loss and because of this multipath propagation, there will be a delay in receiving the different signals. So this receiving end uses some algorithms or the spatial signal processing to produce a single signal that has the originally transmitted data. So at the receiver, we are using some specialized algorithms and also spatial signal processing technique to produce single signal from the multiple signals which are received at different times. Okay. Then from that multiple signals received at the different times in receiver, that will combine and find the original data which is transmitted. Okay. So this is the basic of MIMO system. Then what are the benefits of MIMO system? First one is increase the array gain. So this MIMO system which will increase the array gain. So which this is increase in this array gain is increased by the increase in the received signal to noise ratio. That results from a coherent combining effect of the wireless signals at the receiver. So the signal to noise ratio at the receiver will increase by the coherent combining techniques, by using the coherent combining techniques which are using at the receiver side. Also the array gain improves resistance to noise, thereby improving the coverage and the range of the wireless network. Okay. So resistance to noise also will increase. So the coverage and the range of wireless network. So coverage means range of wireless network. It can increase the coverage of the wireless mobile network. Okay. Then second, when it is increase the spatial diversity gain. It's the MIMO systems will increases the spatial diversity gain. So the spatial diversity gain diminishes fading and is realized by providing the receiver with multiple copies of the transmitted signal in space, frequency or time. Okay, so this spatial diversity gain is increased by multiple number of received signals or the multiple number of copies of the transmitted signal which is in space, frequency or time. So we are using here the three diversity techniques: frequency, space and time diversity. Okay. Then with an increasing number of independent copies, the probability that at least one of the copies is not experiencing a deep fade increases. Okay. So while we are considering a number of copies of the transmitting signal, at least one of these copies will not experience a large fading. So in that received signal, it will consist of the maximum power, and by using the proper algorithm, we can select that signal, or we can retrieve the signal corresponding to that received signal. Thereby, we can improve the quality and reliability of reception. Okay. Then next advantage is increase the spatial multiplexing gain. So MIMO systems offer a linear increase in data rate through spatial multiplexing, that is transmitting multiple independent data streams within the bandwidth of operation. You already know what is multiplexing. So in a MIMO system, multiplexing by using the spatial multiplexing. So by using spatial multiplexing, we can transmit multiple or independent data streams, different signals from the transmitter at the same bandwidth of operation. Okay. Then the number of data streams that can be reliably supported by a MIMO channel equals the minimum of the number of transmit antennas or the number of receive antennas. So the number of data streams that can be supported by a MIMO channel, which is equal to the minimum of the number of transmit antennas or the number of receive. So the minimum, how many channels a MIMO system can support, which is depending on the minimum transmit antennas or the minimum number of receive antennas. So next one is interference reduction and avoidance. Interference in wireless networks results from multiple users sharing time and frequency resources. This interference may be mitigated in MIMO systems by exploiting the spatial dimension to increase the separation between users. Okay. So this interference is because of the usage of different users, multiple users sharing the same frequency band and they sharing the same time. So different multiple access, we are using different multiple access techniques like TDMA and FDMA. So due to this, some interference will be there. This interference can be reduced by the spatial dimension to increase the separation between users. So by using this spatial dimension techniques, by using the spatial dimension, the spatial dimension means that is related, spatial means the antenna. So by using this different technology, spatial dimension technology, we can increase the separation between the users. Okay, so for different users, different antennas can use, and by selecting we can increase the separation between the different users, we can reduce the interference. Okay. Then improving the signal to noise plus interference ratio, that is signal to noise plus interference ratio can be improved in MIMO systems. Okay. So also signal to noise ratio and also signal to interference ratio. So these two things can be improved in MIMO systems. Then this is the block diagram of a MIMO system. So the signal is going through the coding and interleaving block. So the data symbols are input to a space-time encoder that outputs one or more spatial data streams. So this spatial data is transmitted through the different antennas. This first the input, the information bits are traveling through the passing through the coding and interleaving block, will undergo some techniques and interleaved, and then the modulation technique. Symbol mapping means that is modulation. Okay. So in MIMO systems mainly QAM modulation scheme is used, that is quadrature amplitude modulation. So here in symbol mapping, quadrature amplitude modulation, QAM is used. Then after modulation, there will be space-time encoding. That means different this passes through it can be transmitted by different antennas and also in different time. So for that, space-time encoding will be carried out. Then next, the space-time pre-coding. So it will convert to this serial data will converted to parallel data. So which is in spatially and timely divided, and then it is space-time after space-time pre-coding, it is transmitted through a number of different antennas. So the same input signal or the same modulated signal is spatially and in space and time, it is divided into a number of copies, and then it is transmitted through a different number of transmitting antennas. Now, in the receiver session, different number of antennas, multiple antennas are received by this signals which is transmitted through the space, and the opposite process of all the mechanisms which is carried out in the transmitter session takes place in receiver also. So space-time processing in space, then it is this parallel data is converted to serial data by space-time decoding and demodulation, and then it is decoded and interleaved to the output. So we will get the same input bits which is sent at the transmitter session. Okay, so this is the block diagram of a MIMO. So this is this matrix will represent a MIMO channel, multiple input, multiple output channel, where this M T is representing the number of transmitting antennas and MR is representing the number of receiving antenna. Okay, so this matrix, which is given the H will represent the channel gain. So channel gain, which is represent the channel gain. So this matrix is representing this MIMO system. So always the MIMO system is represented by a matrix and which will give the channel gain of that MIMO system. Okay, so we are transmitting the signals through different transmitter antennas, which means through different channels it is transmitting, and for different channels there will be different gain will be there. Okay, so this H11 represent the gain of the signal or channel which is transmitted from the transmitting antenna 1 and which is received by the receiving antenna 1. H12 represent the gain of the channel which is transmitted by the transmitting antenna 1 and received by the receiving antenna 2. This H21 represent it is the gain of the channel which is transmitted through the transmitting antenna 2 and by receiving the receiving antenna 1. So all the transmitting antennas are transmitting the signals. So the signals are transmitted through the multipath, and any of the receiving antenna can receive that signals. Sometimes all the receiving antennas can receive the signal from the transmitting antenna 1 from different paths, and so there will be a lot of channels in a MIMO system. So the MIMO system can be represented by a matrix which will give the gain of the different channels. Okay, so this is all about the introduction of a MIMO system. You just need to study the block diagram and what is a MIMO system and what are its features. Okay, no detailed study is not needed. Only in the introduction is specified in your syllabus. Okay, this is all about MIMO systems.